Hey, what's up guys? Dishsoap here, current rank 1 again, back for the 13.16 Legend and Comp tier list. So yeah, let's just jump into it. So for Legends, S tier is going to be Urf. They didn't nerf anything about it, they just nerfed all the other Legends. That kind of makes him default the best. Personally, I don't actually think the tomes are that good for him. I'd say I probably take the tomes around, like, gold and prismatic around like 30% of the time. And I never take branching out, but I think Earth's 3-2 and 4-2 augments that give you like golden components are really, really good, and I take them very often. Honestly, I'm not really a fan of Caitlyn. I never play her, but she's pretty consistent at top 4ing. Vlad is an A tier because this patch, Aphelios is really, really popular, and one way to play Aphelios is to open port with Vlad, take transfusion, and play around 4 Bastion Aphelios. The Bastions scale really, really well off of the transfusion HP, and Aphelios scales late into the fight, and then you can take Ascension as the last augment. Poro's an A, mostly just because, honestly, a lot of these legends got nerfed pretty hard from launch. Poro, therefore, gets a kind of a buff. I really wouldn't recommend Poro, I just recommend Urf, but Poro's fine. Ezreal's also an A. Ezreal's similar to Urf. I'd say I take Ezreal's 2-1 augments a little more often than Urf's, but Ezreal's 4-2 is not as good as Urf's, so I put him in A tier. Bard and B. The thing about Bard is I actually think, okay, his 2-1 silver is untakeable. 2-1 gold is actually pretty good on Econ Galaxies, but unpickable otherwise. I actually think his prismatic is probably the best prismatic legend augment, maybe behind Vlad. It's just not enough to justify him. His 3-2 augment is pretty mid, and his 4-2 augment's untakeable. Veigar and B. Problem with Veigar is I never want to take Jewel Lotus in 2-1 ever, and Tiny Power is not that good, so he just goes in B for me. Ornn got nerfed pretty hard. They made 2-1 Portable Forge. You only get 2 options instead of 3, as well as them nerfing some of the best Ornn items, so Ornn goes in B tier. I think he's just a little bit worse than Urf. And also Ornn's like 3-2 has been like nerfed a lot of times this set. Master Yi in B. You might actually be surprised to see this in B because a really popular strat right now is to play 7 Demacia Garen with Master Yi pumping up. But I feel like Master Yi is only good for one comp, and that's Garen. I don't really think, I mean, he's fine for Zeri. I don't think he's very good for Aphelios. I played a few games trying to hard force Garen playing Master Yi, but I ended up just playing other comps, and I literally never wanted to take any of Master Yi's augments, so he's just pretty bad for flexing. I don't know, if you want to be a Garen one-trick, go ahead. And then we have Lee Sin as well. Lee Sin is always just dependent on if rerolls in the meta. Right now, reroll after like the Samira and Kale nerfs is not really that much in meta, so I don't think it's that good, but he's fine. Acel goes to B. They nerfed his 4-2, but the main thing that hurts him is that they nerfed the legendaries. Right now, Ahri and Bel'Veth, who are not the free wins they used to be, but it's still a way to get to the highest cap board in the game, so you can't really put it at C tier. Also in C tier we have Pingu. Honestly, he might deserve D, but I don't think he's as bad as Kench. The only use for it is playing Piltover, and Zeri Urgot got nerfed, so that line is just worse in general. But I mean, it's not like Pingu was good before. TF and C, there's just better ways to get items from your legend. Just play Urf or Ezreal. Draven, you don't get enough gold. I will say though, you don't have to play Draven, but Silver Spoils of War is like actually really good. I actually take it a lot of the time, even if I'm not playing Draven. And then Kench is D, he's just bad. For S tier, we only have 2 comps. We have Aphelios and we have Noxus. I think these 2 comps are S tier because number 1, they're the most consistent comps in the game. If you hit Aphelios 2, you're probably gonna top 4 regardless. They cap really, really high, and you can easily play for win with combat augments. The best version of Aphelios is actually the Bastion version, since they like buff Shen. It's just a way to get him to scale into late game. This is the version you want to play if you're playing Vlad. Go for double Ginsu, have Aphelios scale up, have infinite frontline. Version's obviously really good. It caps super, super higher on Heimerdinger because it gives you the shred. If you don't have the Heimerdinger, playing around like Lysandra Ashe is actually fine before you hit Heimer. I don't actually think Urgot's that important in this comp. Usually he just dies. If you have a Bastion spec, you can give it to Urgot and play like 6 Bastion is sometimes an option, but Urgot items don't really matter that much in this variation. So you could definitely play around Lysandra Ashe if you want shred. And then the other variations, just the old 4 Deadeye variation. Your level 8 can be whatever you want. Timer, Aatrox is the cheapest, but just 4 Deadeye, 3 Freljord, Items on Sedge. You probably don't go double Ginsu in this build because the fights don't last long enough, so just go for a 3rd damage item instead. And you probably want Urgot itemized in this comp as well. I think this comp is fine to play around if you hit like early Sejuani too, but otherwise I would just try to angle the Shen stuff instead. But like if you hit this board, obviously you're going to be really strong. Probably a free top 2. And then we have Noxus. I don't really want to go over this comp too much because I literally have so many videos and guides on it already, but essentially it's just Darius, Katarina duo carry. Bis items don't matter that much. You just want healing plus damage, some kind of damage up on Darius. If you have Spat, you could put it on Gwyn, Echo, Nasus, and like Warwick for like early on before you have these units, and then Aatrox late game. But yeah, just play around the fields. I guess. If something looks correct to play, just play it. Say like you can't go for Katarina 3, Darius 3, it might be a good option to like take items, remake Katarina, and go for like a Gwen, Noxus Spat as your carry. I've done that a few times. And then now we're at A tier, just Sorcs. I usually only angle 6 Sorcs when I have the emblem. Otherwise, I just go for Sorc. I mean, this comp, when you have Ahri and Lux too. You don't go for tank items in this comp usually because the units aren't tanky enough. You just go for Spark Sunfire and Zerots. I forgot to talk about legends again. Okay, for Bastion Aphelios, the best legend is probably Vlad, but I think Urf works fine. You can get a Bastion +1, it's pretty good. For the standard Aphelios, I mean, Vlad and Urf are fine as well. Doesn't really change. Noxus is probably just Urf, right? The 3-2-4-2 gets you items for all your carries, and then the 2-1 obviously gets you the spat. Sorc, Urf, because you can get the emblem. Next comp, Challengers. Challengers has been pretty standard A tier. The one thing that's changed this patch is they changed RFC's interaction on Yasuo. Now it doesn't increase the range of his ult, so do not build RFC anymore. This item is battling him now. Just go for Shojin JG +1 Kaisa, GA +2 Yasuo, hit Yasuo 2, Kaisa 2, top 4. Level 8, try to get Heimerdinger in as soon as possible. This unit is so good in this comp because it gives you the armor shred, which is hard to get normally. If you get a Challenger spat, you can put it on Heimer, you can put it on Senna, you can put it on Aatrox, you can put it on Gwen. Often when I have Challenger spat, on level 7, I play around like this board. And then if you have extra items, say from like Urf, you can go like a Gwen trio carry setup. I do this a lot. Obviously, legend here is going to be your Urf. Getting your 3-2 and 4-2 components for Yasuo and Kaisa is really important, and Challenger spat's honestly pretty good on 2-1. Next is going to be Fast 9. I'm going to be honest, if you tried to force legendaries like on Acel or whatever, every single game this patch, you probably would not have a very good score. This comp got a lot more inconsistent with the Bel'Veth nerfs, with the Ahri nerfs, and with the Acel and Sion nerfs, but like it's probably still the highest cap board in the game, right? I'm not sure about this. It might still be Bel'Veth as your secondary, but after Bel'Veth nerfs, I think there's merit to trying to carry Aatrox and play Gwen instead, but Bel'Veth is probably still fine. You just want Ahri plus like a 5+ duo carry, play around lots of frontline, and cap out. Next in A tier, oh sorry, I mean legend for this is just Acel, I guess. 6 Invoker. I think this comp is just super hit or miss. You need the Shen 1 like early stage 4 or you're going to like take 30 every single round. And you also need the Shen 2 pretty early as well, because like Shen 1 is just going to get obliterated on like 5-1. And then you also need like the Rise and the Ahri. So honestly, like for me, this comp is just, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan, but obviously when you hit the Shen 2, when you hit the Karma 3, when you hit the Rise, when you hit the Ahri, this comp is insane. It's just sometimes hard to get there. Legend for this, honestly, like maybe Vlad. Like Transfusion's probably better than +1 Invoker. +1 Invoker is honestly kind of mid, but I mean Urf's never bad in general, just for the 3-2-4-2, even if you're not taking Tome. So I guess Vlad or Urf. Next comp we have is Demacia Garen. This comp got a few buffs. Number 1, Demacia got buffed. I think Galio got buffed. And Garen got buffed. And I think Sona got like more attack speed or something, I think. And all those buffs like added up to like this comp being decent now. You don't go for Gensu in this comp because you get attack speed from Sona. And also a lot of time you play this from Master Yi. I'm not sure if you have to play this from Master Yi. I've seen people play this from just Urf and do really well. But I think like the cap is Master Yi, and you literally take pumping up and gotta go fast, and Garen just becomes a monster. I think I've also seen people play this from +1 Demacia, and it's worked out pretty well. So like instead of the Kale or instead of the Poppy when they have +1 Demacia, they just fit in like Juggernaut on 7. I mean ideally it's Aatrox, but it can be also be Nasus, and then they level up for like a legendary. But yeah. This comp's pretty good. I don't think you need Gensu. Gensu is not very good in the stats. Yeah, go for like Lux, Sona, duo carries. Go for either 3-item Jarvan, 3-item Sona, just depending on what components you have. Doesn't really matter that much. Next is a comp I guess I call Shadow Isle Flex. I'm gonna be honest. This comp, it doesn't really matter what you play. You just play around what you hit. The core of this concept is just playing around Gwen, Kalista duo carry, and Shen frontline. So like you can play this in a Bastion setup. Like you can play this around 4 Bastion. You can play it around 4 Challenger. You can play it around 6 Shadow Isles if you get a Shadow Isle Shen. But just the core is just flexing on what you hit with like Gwen, Kalista duo and like +1 Challenger, and then Shen is like the best frontliner in the game, so you just play Shen. Like I guess you play Maokai over. I mean that would make more sense. Yeah, something like this. You can go for Kalista 3, or you can just tempo with like Kalista 2, and you can actually play double Kalista if you have like 2 Kalista 2s. It's pretty good. Like if you don't have the center or something like that, you can just do this. It's solid. And then obviously like you can play Aatrox. Like you can play so many things in this comp. It just depends on what you hit. I know that's not the best for like a tier list like this, but honestly, like you can fit so much stuff into it. I feel like it's not very easy to put on a tier list. But BI's Kalista is gonna be, I think Rageblade is like okay, but it's like it's the best item like stage 2, stage 3, early stage 4. So it's probably like Rageblade, GS +1. Gunblade's fine. JG's fine. Bisquin is just gonna be whatever damage items you have left, and Shen is whatever frontline items you have. Legend for this, probably just Urf again. Shadow Isle +1. is insane on Shen. Bastion +1's pretty good. Next comp is gonna be Piltover Zeri. They nerfed Zeri and Urgot a lot, which hurt this comp. Honestly, I played this a few times. When I have Piltover +1, I actually try to angle Aphelios, and I just sell, like, the Echo, I sell the Jace after I cash out. Because the TX isn't even that good. Like, you just play for the cash out reward. But if Zeri is going to be viable in any sense, it's going to be in Piltover. But just roll for this board to cash out, and then you can play whatever you want afterwards. BI Zeri, if you're not playing Failure, is going to be less Whisper Ginsu +1. BS Urgot's going to be B2 Titans, and then take items and such. The hardest thing to do with this comp is cash out. Once you cash out, you can literally play whatever. Does not matter. Oh, I guess Legend for this is going to be Urf. I keep on forgetting to say Legend, but yeah, Urf for this. Get items for Zeri and Urgots, and like the extra gold helps you cash out a lot on like 3-2 and 4-2. And obviously stuff like Piltover +1, Zon +1, still good. Okay, next comp on A tier is going to be Lux Azir. They made Lux more consistent with how fast she swaps targets. They buffed how fast Lux is. They buffed Azir's damage. And I think they buffed Strategist somewhat. Actually, maybe not. I forgot. But yeah, a few buffs. They also buffed Garen, I guess, but not really. But yeah, take items on Nasus. I prefer Shiv on Azir over Spark, but Spark is fine. You can just throw Spark on Nasus. Shojin or blue buff on Lux. And then you go for Radiant item on Lux a lot of the time. Duo Lux Azir. Good comp, A tier. The problem with this comp is just hitting everything. It's really, like, you need Nasus 2, you need a Azir 2, you need Lux 2. It's just so expensive. So that's why this comp is not S tier. But like, if you hit this board, you're probably top 3ing. Legend for this is going to be Earth. You need items on everyone. +1 charge is fine, but honestly, just for the items. I mean, actually, like, Vlad is insane for this as well. Honestly, if I could have Transfusion plus Earth 3-2-4-2, that would be Biss. But yeah, like Vlad or Earth, I guess. Next comp, B tier. I guess we're in B tier now. Tristana. I never play this comp, I'm gonna be honest. I expect it's still fine at low elo. Cap around 4 Gunner still. Like, it's a pretty high cap. The problem with this comp is just hitting in time. Like, I mean, you cap pretty high. It's hard to get to this, right? Legend for this is going to be Lee Sin. Also in B tier is Reksai. I think I overrated this in my last tier list. When you have Reksai 3, Bruiser +1, combat augments, she feels unstoppable. Reksai 2 is kind of like, respectfully, against good players, Reksai 2 is a piece of shit. She's not going to get any resets. You're going to lose so much HP because you don't actually kill units unless you're like stomping them. Obviously, if you have Bruiser +1, you can play Lysandra, but if you don't have Bruiser +1, like prior 6 Bruiser over everything, this is going to be double Titans, BT. Legend for this is going to be Earth. Next comp, B tier, going to be 4 Multicaster. I would say only play this if you natural like infinite Vel'Kozes and infinite Sonas and stuff. Roll for Vel'Koz 3, Sona 3. Also, this comp, you can't really use tank items that well. Like, you can put tank items on Shen, sure, but late game he's gonna fall off really hard, and you're not gonna have any frontline. The best frontline for this comp is actually just ZZ Rots. Like, sometimes you get like a Sorcs spat, and like you want to play around like Lux, but like, where's the frontline here? Your frontline's a Jarvan and a Swain? Yeah, no, not down for that. You just play Galio for like a tiny bit of frontline, and you go for ZZ Rots. I'd say generally, if you get a Sorcs spat, like, you just don't play Multicaster, you just play Sorcs. If you're somehow in the spots where you have infinite Vel'Kozes and like none of the other Sorc setups, you can play around it. Legend for this is gonna be, I guess, Arf. I mean, the emblems aren't good, but like the items are. Now we have, also in B tier, we have Temmo Reroll. I would only play this comp if you have some kind of Econ, Galaxy, Augment, whatever. You need something like Yordle's Portal, something like Frequent Flyer, Golden Tickets, or like Scuttle Puddle. You don't have enough gold for this if you don't have that stuff. The comp is way too expensive. BIS Temmo is going to be blue buff, Gunblade JG. After the Galio buffs, I actually like playing frontline Galio. I think Galio 3 is way tankier than Swain 3, but obviously you still want to Spark. I Spark the Swain, go for Rated on Galio. To cap this board, you can play high around Heimer, Jarvan, and keep 2 Multicaster, but you can also, like on level 8, play around 4 Multicaster to cap out. This board is really, really strong if you can hit this early enough, but honestly, from what I've seen in my games, it's really, really hard to hit Temmo 4 without a lot of frontline. I guess Legend. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting this. Legend for this? Honestly, I don't know. I guess Lee Sin, but I'm not gonna pretend like you're guaranteed to hit Temmo from like trade sector. Best for Temmo is probably like Poro, honestly. Lee Sin / Poro. Next in B tier is gonna be Akshan reroll. This comp's fine. It's just, I would only play it if you're playing on like a really early Akshan 2, and you just keep naturing them. Tank items on Zedra Nasus, whatever you hit first. Aatrox is a flex slot, can be whatever. Can be like a set 2, can be another Akshan 2. If you hit Akshan 3 and like level for legendaries or for Deadeye, everything upgraded, it's still pretty good, but it's just hard to get there after the Akshan nerfs a couple patches ago. Next in B tier, I mean, obviously like this board I'm showing you right now is not a B tier board. You're probably going top 3 with this, top 2. It's just gonna be like 7 Shurima. But the problem is getting to this board. I think Shurima has like one of the most sus early games and one of the worst mid games in the game, just because the units you have to play are pretty bad. Like Talia is pretty shit. Redectan's pretty shit. Cassio's not that good. And then Akshan's like needs Deadeye, so it's kind of hard to fit everything. Like their Shurmans don't start getting good until you hit like Azir, Nasus, and all that stuff. Legend for this, Earth for the emblem, Vlad, or Transfusion's insane with this, but like It's hard to get the Shurima emblem and get transfusion. Maybe consider playing this like if you're Vlad and you get like an emblem from like your portal, like you get it from Battle Cafeteria, Placidium Library, something like that. Next is gonna be 8 Void. Honestly, I almost never play this, but just Kai'Sa main carry, both the secondary. You also for Challenger to hold the emblem, and you have Baron eat stuff up. It's fine if you hit hard to get to this board unless you're like full streaking. Legend for Void Comp is probably Earth. Next in B tier is gonna be Zeri Flex, I guess. It's when you're playing Zeri without Piltover. This used to be Giga Meta last patch, but Zeri nerf, Urgot nerf hurts a lot. Also, she's really bad into the meta right now. Honestly, like Zeri might be like a good unit baseline, but when you're going against like these super tanky Garens, the Dariuses, the super tanky Shens, the super tanky Nasuses, it's really hard for Zeri to kill anything. Like her niche last patch was being able to kill backline before they could kill your frontline. But right now she doesn't really do that, and you're gonna get stuck on frontline so often. Or like you're not gonna get stuck on frontline. You just can't kill the frontline ever. I don't know if a Darius 3 is in front of a Zeri, if you're not like stun locking it, it's not going to die. If you hit a board like this though, it's pretty good. Generally, this patch I would just stick with Aphelios. Obviously, if you don't hit the legendaries, you can play for like top 4 maybe with 4s on, 6 on. Like 6 on is probably still fine if you have explosion, but yeah. Otherwise, I would just try to angle Aphelios when you have 80 items. Next in B tier is gonna be built different. Honestly, I don't really take this augment that much, but I think it's still fine. Go for Aphelios Kai'Sa duo carry, and whatever frontline you hit. The best frontline units are going to be Jarvan and Shen, but like Nasus Sedge are fine. Gwyn's also pretty good as like a third carry kind of person. Like obviously you're playing infinite forecasts. The sport's going to be really expensive. You're going to be rolling on 7, but if you hit your 2-star carries and some good frontline, you can play for top 4. If you have a social distancing, you can play for top 2 though. It just depends on whatever combat augments you hit, I guess. Next in B tier is going to be 6 Ionia. Ahri nerfs hurt this line a lot. I would just play challengers most of the time, but I don't know. Sometimes you hit Ahri and you don't hit Kai'Sa. Like obviously if you hit Ahri 2, this comp's good, but Ahri 1 you might be struggling. But go for Ahri, also duo carry, tank items on Shen. But generally I would just angle challengers instead of this comp. Okay, so this is C tier. Kayle in the last patch got kind of a rework, but it's mostly just a nerf. They made her like base attacks do more damage, but they nerfed the damage of the wave, which means she's like actually a pretty good early game item holder now. But like when you're trying to reroll her and you're like level 6, level 9, the nerfs hurt a lot. This comp is still fine if you hit like extremely early. Other than that, I think on average it's C tier. I think you're gonna have a lot of trouble if you try to hard force this comp. Best legend for this is probably still just Lee Sin. Next comp we have is in C tier is gonna be Zed. I would only recommend playing this with like infinite Zeds and a Slayer +1, because the Slayer +1 in Katarina makes a huge difference. Yeah, the problem is just stabilizing around Z2. Z2 is not that stable anymore. Legend for this is gonna be Earth. Next is everyone's favorite Cho'Baitum. I would only play this if you like start the game off with 6 Cho'Gaths. But yeah, reroll Cho'Gath and Malzahar. Sell Malzahar for like Ahri, Kai'Sa later or something. Honestly, like Cho'Gath 3 is pretty good, but it's not good enough if you actually have to like spend money on it. It's good if you can natural it. Next in C tier is gonna be Ravenous Hunter Warwick. Zon nerfs, plus they just nerf this augment, makes this augment not very good in my opinion. It's decent if you can hit 6 Juggernaut, but it just feels like a worse version of Garen. I don't think this comp is very good. If you can get to 6 Juggernaut, play 6 Juggernaut. Otherwise, just go with 4. Another hero augment. Honestly, like this might be in B tier. I think I'm like just biased against it. It's gonna be Riftwalker Kassadin. The problem with Riftwalker Kassadin is if you can get to like 6 Bastion with Cassante, this comp is fucking broken. I'm not gonna lie. Like it probably deserves to be an A tier. But Kassadin 2 is like not stable at all. You need Kassadin 3. Like usually these reroll comps are actually like somewhat stable on 2-star. Kassadin 2 is not stable at all. Like you're gonna take like infinite damage. Legend for this comp doesn't really matter because you would only play this from 2-1 hero augment, which is not a legend augment. I guess Earth, so you get more item. You get to like get more items or something. I don't know. It's good if you can hit, but most of the time you're probably just going to die before you hit. This is a Samira roll. It used to be A tier last patch. They made it so you can't go to negative armor anymore. So I don't really see a purpose in playing this. If I have a bunch of Samiras, what I do now is I just play standard Noxus and I just hold the Samiras on bench. Believe it or not, you could actually fairly consistently hit Samira 3 on like level 6 and level 7. I think it's useful to like go for Samira 3 when you're playing Noxus, make a blue buff on her, and call it a day and just itemize your Darius and Katarina. I don't know, if you really want to live the Samira Cassio duo carry fantasy, you can go ahead. It's okay. And I think that's it for me. I guess legend for this is Earth. I guess, sure. Just for a quick recap, legends, Earth S tier. I think Earth is the most consistent, the best. Vlad is probably second best, but I don't really like Vlad's playstyle. I think Earth is the most consistent. S tier is going to be Aphelios, both Freljord and Bastion. Also Noxus is an S tier. Darius Katarina duo carry. A tier we have Sorcs, Challengers, Fast 9, Legendaries, Invokers, 7 Demacia, Garen Lux, Shadow Isles Flex, Piltover Zeri, Azir Lux, and then in B tier we have Tristana reroll, Reksai reroll, 4 Multicaster Vel'Koz reroll, Temmo reroll, Akshan reroll, 7 Shurima, 8 Void, Zeri, Zon, Legendary Flex, built different, 6 Ionia, and then C tier we have Kale, Zed, Cho Bitem, Ravenous Hunter Warwick, Riftwalker Kassadin, and Samir reroll. Okay, that's gonna be it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Pog.